Good day, Africa, and welcome to another edition of AAU Talks on AAU TV. My name is Irene Dufe Ade. Our topic this afternoon is sustainable management of e-waste in higher education institutions. We'll go for a short video on e-waste and then we'll come back.
Along the busy streets of Accra, a young boy pushes a truckload of electronic waste. The e-waste collected from homes end up in Abublushi, a suburb of Ghana's capital Accra, considered to be the world's biggest e-waste dump site. Here, these young men dismantle the electronic appliances, which include TVs, computers, air conditioners, and refrigerators, with their bare hands and crude implements to extract copper and other metals. They earn $2.50 for a pound of copper. The extraction of copper from the e-waste is continued by burning the appliances along this lagoon while the environment is polluted. Health experts say these young men and children are slowly being poisoned as they inhale the fume which contain toxic substances including lead. Many of the youth in Abublushi migrated from the northern part of Ghana to escape poverty but ended up in this hazardous work. They risk their health in order to survive in the city.
We are here to burn copper because no job to do and get any money to do what? To solve your problem. The way I'm burning the copper has affected me because I'm not breathing well. And if I'm working here two weeks later, I'm supposed to buy malaria medicine, and do what? And drink it, and my body will come normal again for me to work again, or for me to feel all right.
Environmental experts have declared Abublushi as one of the most toxic places on earth. The government of Ghana will from October this year levy importers of second-hand appliances as a measure to control the dumping of e-waste in the country.
We are going to use the resources of this levy to set up a state-of-the-art recycling facility. So these informal operators who are currently collecting the cables and burning them to get the copper, they don't have to do that. Now all they need to do is to collect it and then go and sell to what we call a buyback center.
But a bigger challenge is how to end the activities at Abublushi, which continue to affect the health of young men and children. Nabil Ahmed Rufai, CGTN, Accra.
Welcome back. My guest for this topic is Dr. Sampson Atiemo Manukure, who is a research scientist at the Ghana Atomic Energy Commission. Welcome, Dr. Atiemo.
Thank you very much.
I find this topic, e-waste, as interesting, very interesting. What is e-waste? What is the meaning of the E in the e-waste?
So basically when we say e-waste, we're referring to electronic waste.
Okay.
And it is waste electrical and electronic appliances. Anytime you are using an appliance that has come to its useful end of life,
Okay.
we call it electronic waste. So in Europe, they call it WEEE. Okay. And in Africa, we use the term e-waste.
Okay.
They are basically waste electronic appliances.
Okay, so what are some of the things that are considered as e-waste? Because when we talk about electronics, and then what differentiates it from the other waste that we have?
So e-waste is a special type of waste
Okay.
that has wide range of appliances, from TVs, from computers, from mobile phones, fridges, anything that uses battery or electricity as its power source. Whenever they come to their end of life, they are called e-waste. So at the household level, you have torchlights, radio systems that easily get spoiled, and so they also add up to the e-waste.
Then if we are talking about e-waste, then it means it's very large.
Yes.
It has a large component.
Yes.
Are there rules regarding how to recycle e-waste? Because these are, we normally mix them with the normal waste that we have. Are there rules for us to recycle e-waste?
You know, e-waste itself is more of a recent phenomenon.
Okay.
In Ghana, we began realizing the negative impacts around 2006. And it is growing globally over 50 million tons of e-waste is generated annually. And currently, there are some countries have laws regarding how e-waste is to be managed. In Ghana, in 2016, an act of parliament was passed to control and manage these electronic appliances, but I will come there. However, in our current situation at the household levels, we don't have any means of separating e-waste from the other domestic waste. So everything is bulked together and sent to the landfill site. There are also scrap dealers who go from house to house, company to company to buy some of the e-waste because e-waste contain both hazardous and valuable components. The valuable components can be removed and sold as scrap to both local and international markets. So there is an economic incentive for scrap dealers to go around households and collect them and take them to scrap yards, dismantle them, sell what they can sell, and then what they cannot sell, they discard them.
Yeah, I was about asking of the current practices of disposing of e-waste, because that is, I think that is what we do. We just give it to them. Some of them too, we see them taking it from the refuse dumping and all of that. So are these some of the current practices of how we recycle our e-waste?
Yes, in Ghana, this is basically what we do. The sector is dominated by the informal scrap dealers. They go house to house, they collect them, as I said, they take them to the scrap yard. But when the e-waste gets to the scrap yard, that is where the problems begin. They use manual means, very environmentally hazardous methods. Some use hammer or stones to crush the appliances, split it open. For example, if you take a monitor, a CRT monitor, they just lift it high, crash it onto a stone, and then get the valuable components and those things that they cannot sell, they leave it outside. Some too, you see the cables. Most cables are coated with plastics, and inside the cable are copper or aluminum metals. Now, because they need that metal, they gather the cables, set fire into them, burn off the plastics, and then they take the metals, the metal wires, and sell them. Now, this is what we are doing currently as a country regarding how we dispose of e-waste.
Okay, so why even worry about e-waste? Because looking at it as a component which we can use for other things, why are we worried about it?
See, we are worried about the management because of the potential hazards that are in the e-waste itself. You have substances that are known to be cancer-causing: lead, cadmium, mercury. These are very serious chemicals, and they are present in the electronic gadgets. So once you don't manage them well, you release them into the environment, and they cause pollution. If you take some of the electronic gadgets like television sets, computers, etc., you see that they have plastic casing. Some of the plastic casings are made up of some plastics called ABS. Now, these ABS may have flame retardants in them. They were embedded in the plastic so that whenever the gadget catches fire, it will not explode. Now, when you set fire into these plastics, you are releasing the flame retardants, which are called brominated flame retardants, into the atmosphere. And these flame retardants cause cancer. And if you have ever visited Abubloshi and you see the huge pile of smoke coming out of the scrap yard over there, inside that smoke has so many cancer-causing chemicals. And sometimes those of us who are not maybe related to collection or the burning, we also go there to trade. My wife goes there to buy tomatoes, etc. She inhales these chemicals, and then she comes home sick. Whenever I go to that scrap yard, sometimes I go back home sick. And so there is really the need to see how we can properly manage these electronic waste in such a way that even if we want to take out the precious components, we don't also end up polluting ourselves. Let me give you an example. One day I went to the Abubloshi scrapyard and I saw chicken and cows grazing
Around that area?
Around the area.
Okay.
And there was a whole huge cow sleeping in the smoke, you know, relaxing where the smoke was passing. And I was telling a friend that, look, this cow that is there inhaling all this smoke, who knows that the next meat we buy from the butcher shop
would end up on your
will
plate.
not be this cow. So
Yeah.
it can even end up on the president's table. Who knows?
Definitely.
So the problem is huge, and we need to solve it.
Yeah. Okay, so talking about the e-waste, from my point or my perspective, I think it's imperative for the government to have regulations, because some of these things that are being brought here, let's call them the second hand, are near end of life. So shouldn't there be a regulation to control these number of things, the second hand goods that come in? Because it seems that when it comes, it just stays for a few months or years, and then it becomes waste in our environment.
Yes, in fact, you are right. A lot of the things that come in are near end of life. In 2009, Ghana Country Assessment of Electronic Appliances, we realized that we import 215,000 tons of electronic appliances into this country.
Okay.
And this is an official documented figure from the Environmental Protection Agency and the Ministry of Environment, Science and Technology. Out of the 215,000 tons, 70% come in as second-hand. Now, when you even take only the second-hand, 20% of that come in as complete junk, waste.
Waste.
They are not near end of life. They are total condemned. And then 30% also come in as broken but are repairable.
Yeah.
But the report didn't tell how much of that repairable are actually repaired. So you will notice that if you put the repairables together with the junk, you have about 50% of the second-hand equipment that come in as complete junk. And it shows on the market. You go there, they tell you, oh, this one is tested, this one is untested.
Tested, yes.
So
we see a lot of that,
yes,
especially on TV.
On TV.
They tell you this is untested.
This
if
is
you
untested.
buy it,
How sure are you that the untested is actually untested?
Yeah.
Because I put it there and I'm calling it untested.
Yeah.
Maybe I may have tested it home.
Yeah,
and
I
it's
know
not
it's not working.
And I'm selling it to you as untested. So on the market, these things are there. Now, initially, we don't have any recycling facility in Ghana.
Okay.
Any sound recycling facility. As I speak, yes, there are efforts to build a recycling facility now, but we didn't have. So at that point, we should have restricted the importation of junk e-waste. There are some of the e-waste that come in. They are good for the scrap dealers because they can sell everything and make money. But if you take a TV set and you dismantle a TV and do economic analysis of the TV, it's completely negative.
That was the point that I was talking about, that looking at it economically, don't it even put out on a deficit? Because we go out to buy these things with money, and then we come back with things that are sport, that are no good. We can't use it. And at the end of the day, we still have to even suffer the effect, the repercussion of getting these damaged goods here.
You see, let me tell you one more experience I had in my previous secondary school where I used to teach. A company abroad told us that they wanted to donate computers and IT equipment to the school. And so we're happy. They paid for the full cost of shipping the equipment from Netherlands all the way to my school. When we tested them, we realized that 80% of what they donated were not working. So it was just a way of dumping their sport equipment. And it's happening even now that if you travel abroad, there are what we call waste brokers. They go around recycling centers, they go around waste dumps and pick some of these equipment with the connivance of official sources within those governments and export them into countries where they think the cost of disposal is low. And so sometimes those who go outside to buy them, the economics doesn't really play out for them, because when you buy 10 sports equipment, we will give you maybe 20 at a reduced cost. So they come and they look at what they can sell and then dump what they cannot sell.
Okay. So looking at, given us the current recycling issues here in Ghana, especially, or in Africa, what would be the ideal way of recycling e-waste? Because as we look at it now, E-waste is huge. It has become part of us. If you go to Abubloshi, you know it's pollution everywhere. We are scared because we can have skin cancers, we can have lung cancers and everything. So what is the ideal way of recycling e-waste?
Okay, the ideal recycling will be looked at in two perspectives.
Okay.
One, it must be recycled.
Definitely.
Two, there must be financial mechanism to support the recycling. The ideal recycling you talked about starts from collection. Whatever we are using in our homes, whenever I want to change my bulb at home, where is the option to dispose them? The option is to put it in the bin.
Yes.
But that is not the way to go. The ideal thing is to have a separate collection bin for the e-waste, so that those tiny little ones, radios, torch lights, flashlights, etc., I put them in the bin. Then a collector comes, pick them, and send them for specialized treatment, because there are some that actually need specialized treatment. Now, those ones that are valuable, like computers, like TV sets, fridges, we have the scrap dealers who come to collect them. These scrap dealers must also channel their collection to a center where it can be treated in an environmentally sound manner. But in doing this, it's a challenge for African countries, because the economies does not support this type of recycling. In Europe, what they have done is to engineer a financial mechanism through a system called extended producer responsibility, which is anybody who puts an appliance on a market by way of either manufacturing or imports, you are the owner of the appliance, and therefore you are responsible for the entire end of life of that equipment. What Ghana has tried to do is to institute a law in Act 917, where importers are supposed to pay an eco levy. So the eco levy is even paid before you ship the equipment down. And that eco levy is supposed to go into establishing a recycling plant where these e-waste can be recycled in an environmentally sound manner.
Okay, so viewers, this is AAU Talks on AAU TV, and we are talking about electronic waste. If you just join us, hold on a little bit, we'll go for a break, and when we come back, we'll continue with the conversation.
This is Agbogbloshie Dump, 1.6 kilometers square, just 10 minutes drive from the center of Accra, the Ghanaian capital. Every month, tons of old electrical equipment arrive here from the US and Europe. Men, women and children pick it over, searching for scrap metals that can then be resold. But at the same time, they expose themselves to the waste's highly toxic materials like lead and phosphorus gas. Those materials have made this site, according to environmental NGO Green Cross, one of the most polluted places on Earth.
It's just a poisoned graveyard of electronic waste. The ground, the soils are filled with toxic chemicals, lead, brominated flame retardants, cadmium, dioxins, furans, all the toxic chemicals that cause a wide range of diseases, and is all the result of the illegal shipments and dumping of e-waste here by the industrialist countries.
There are international laws banning the export of electronic waste, but they can be sidestepped by labelling shipments usable second-hand goods. Some are resold, but the majority gets dumped here.
The fire that's going on behind me is being burnt in order to get to the precious metals that's contained within plastic cabling. Now, we've been at this site for about an hour, and those...
Welcome back, Africa. We are talking about electronic waste in Africa. And with me in the studio is still Dr. Sampson Atiemo, who is giving us an insight into it. And he is a research scientist at the Ghana Atomic Energy Commission. We want to talk about e-waste in higher education with internet technology taking over everything. We've now moved on from the manual to internet to using our laptops more for even for application for school distance learning. Now we don't even go to classes anymore, online interface, and therefore there is the need for high-speed equipment. And to get back to it, even yesterday, Apple released another set of iPhones. And so, you know, there is this urge to get the fastest and then the newest technologies. How does this affect e-waste, and how does it affect the university community?
Okay, as I said from the beginning, e-waste is the fastest waste stream in the world now.
Yeah.
It's the fastest growing waste stream. It is because, like you have mentioned, the universities have a need to use technology as a driver for education, to improve access to education, admission processes, examination. The entire management of the higher education institutions thrives on IT. And it's rightly so, because you are in the 21st century, you cannot go back into purely manual systems, etc. And so the need for the tertiary institutions to use IT is clear and it's real. And they must drive.
It's essential.
It's essential.
Very important.
You cannot run away from that. But this must be backed by sustainable policy to manage the end-of-life equipment. As the universities are moving more towards IT, as, like you mentioned, Apple releasing new gadgets.
We don't know what to do with the ones we have.
You don't know what to do with the old one. You have to go for new ones. So there is this kind of increase in consumerism within in the world, amongst individual consumers, corporate consumers, bulk consumers like the universities, etc. But this must be guided. Because the university itself, or the higher education institution themselves, must be an avenue for sustainability. We have subscribed to the global goals. Goal number 12 is about sustainable consumption and production. And so we have no choice than to be sustainable in our consumption. If the universities are thriving on technology, and there's the need to improve technology every time to remain competitive, we can always do some chess work with technology. For example, if you are in the admissions office, where you will need high-speed technology to service students, maybe a secretary in another office may not really need that kind of high-speed technology. And therefore, the old computers in the admissions office must not be thrown away. They can be moved into another office just to prolong the lifespan of
these gadgets.
Because prolonging the lifespan in itself is sustainable. You don't need to go back. You don't encourage mining of new minerals, resources for the production of new computers. However, irrespective of the span you give to the gadgets, certainly there will be a point where it has
it comes
to an end. But you see, for those of us in the e-waste management, and I've been in this business for quite some time, more than 10 years, doing this research in e-waste in Ghana and abroad. We think that end of life by itself is defined by the owner.
The user.
By the user. So if I have a phone and I see Apple releasing a new phone and I decide to buy it, it means that the phone I have has come to its useful end of life. Now, what do I do with that?
The old one.
Once I come to that definition, what do I do? And this is where I think the higher education institutions can do something. I see AAU doing a lot of work with the universities. And I propose that in countries where AAU have member universities, why don't they come together and set up what I call inter-tertiary institutions reuse center? Now this center will serve as an incubator where all the tertiary institutions, the appliances they have used and they have defined them as end of life, they send them to. It can be an employment and training center where they use to train the informal sector on how to refurbish these equipments.
At the end of the day, we are solving the problem of unemployment
among
the youth, which is a canker, because I think we are not using all the necessary channels. And if we are looking at e-waste and the amount of waste that comes out of it, I think it would be another source of employment.
I mean, truly, look at most African countries. The repair sector is huge. In Ghana, you go to repair shops and the operators, they cannot even turn because of the massive equipment they have
especially
in there.
TV repairers.
TV repairers, fridge, computer repairers. Nowadays, mobile phone repairers are also having this challenge.
Yeah.
So it means that the repair sector is a fertile ground to grow new entrepreneurs. And I see AAU taking a lead in this, to bring the universities together, set up this inter-university review center, bring in your own IT engineers from the various universities to train the youth in this repair and refurbishment. Now, if University A brings their items, you can do an analysis. Okay, how much will it cost to refurbish?
Yeah.
Not just repair, but refurbish, giving it a new life, making it look new. And then the owners of the waste can decide that, or the owners of the e-waste that are brought there can decide that, okay, when you finish refurbishing this equipment, send them to a basic school in Village A to promote IT education.
Exactly. It's even as part of our
corporate social responsibility.
It would rather lying down as waste. We can use it to educate those
precisely, because
rural areas.
You go to most university IT departments, they have storerooms that are filled with these IT equipments. They don't know where to send them to. Some are also, in Ghana, I have seen a very big university in Ghana that discards its e-waste haphazardly on the campus, under trees. And I have pictures of that.
On university campuses?
Yes, on the university campus. I took those pictures as part of
That means these campuses are not even safe?
No.
Because their air are polluted and
you see,
all
because the universities themselves, they have policy for waste management. But targeting electronic waste as a special waste is what is lacking.
Okay.
And so I see, again, AAU should play a leading role in assisting these universities to come up with this kind of idea.
It could be a whole conference on its own.
Yes, I think so. And
to manage
I am happy to support.
Yeah, definitely. Talking about universities, and we talked about the government implementing act on e-waste. What is in for universities? Because I think they are the massive consumers of e-waste, and then they are the ones who gives out a lot of waste. So what is in for university on the act passed by Parliament?
Yeah, that is a very interesting question. In the act itself, I talked about levies that are supposed to be paid by importers. So the act has actually divided or given provision for how the levy should be shared for each section. One of them is on collection. 20% of it will go into collection. So if, and related activities, so if AAU decides, in Ghana, for example, to set up this intertertiary review center, AAU can apply for funding from the act, from the e-waste fund, to run such a facility. The other thing is that there's also 3% for R&D, research and development. And there I see universities and research institutions also benefiting from this fund. The estimation, according to some calculation, even from the ministry, is over $100 million per year from the levies alone. So if universities are able to position themselves very well in this e-waste research, they can actually get some funding from the fund to run innovative programs that lead to some solution in this sector. Look, if you take the students who are reading degrees in IT, computer engineering, you run a survey among the students about their knowledge on end-of-life management of the very things they themselves manufacture. I mean, you find very interesting results. I don't want to go into the results, but you know that the results will be very interesting. We can actually include e-waste end-of-life management of electronic appliances as part of the courses that are run by the computer science engineering departments. And this funding can be sourced from the e-waste fund to do some of these things.
I think our problem, as I have observed with waste in general, is that we are not sensitized enough. The sensitization on waste is very low, because we put everything together, organic, inorganic, we put everything together and then we dump it. So as you said, can there be like a specialized course that we can put in our curriculums to help us know from the scratch when we are coming up, know that these are the things we are supposed to put in this bin, these are the things that we are supposed to put here? Because I think getting the basics or the fundamental right would help getting these waste being used for its proper proper things that is supposed to be used to that to be done. But when we don't know and then we are already grown, and then they are trying to change our mentality, our mindset on how to dispose waste, I think it would be a problem. So isn't it about educating us from the basics before we even get to the universities?
You know, partly it's a cultural thing.
Exactly.
We have grown to know linear way of life. And waste management is moving away from that linearity. Linearity simply means I buy the water, drink, throw away the bottle. I buy the next water, drink, throw away. So everything is linear. We don't look at the circular nature of waste and resource use. And then in the perception of abundance of resources.
Yes.
So, if I buy the water and throw it away, after all, there are a lot of plastics in the system, so I can have another one. So like you said, it should start from the basics. But then the basics should not be rooted in culture, like the way we have lived, the linear life I spoke about. Look at the quantity of food waste we generate in this country. Some estimate it to be in billions of dollars per year. Now, we need to look at it from the perspective of the Sustainable Development Goals, where we have sustainable production, sustainable consumption. Everything must be looked at within a circular economy. And we must start from the basics, like you mentioned. We need to train the young ones to know that resources are finite, and therefore we must promote recycling. I have spoken to some local government institutions, and I tell them, look, the waste management contract you award to the companies are not even helping us. Because if I do separation at source, at home, and you come with your truck, you put everything together into one truck and take it away.
And you take it away.
What is the incentive for me to do some separation?
Yes, exactly. Because some of them can be used as biogas.
Yes.
Some of the rest, they are near lives. If it's not, and then we can use it for something else.
Yes.
So even if we are separated in the house, and then those coming in are missing it,
yes,
then what's the point?
That is it. So we need a certain mindset, not only from the basics, but all the way up to the top. We should not only give collection contracts, but we should also look at recycling contracts. So that if you give a contract to, let's say, I don't want to mention the companies here to promote them, company A, and you tell them you are collecting maybe 1,000 tons of waste per day. I want you to recycle 20% of the waste you collect. And in that 20%, I want you to show me the incomes you are generating out of that 20% recycling, which will be part of my payment to you. And anytime you miss the target for recycling, I am going to sanction you for it. The companies will change the way they do things.
Yeah, it still comes back to the government, you know.
Yes.
It still comes back. So my last question. Yeah. And in your opinion, should the government put out stricter rules when we are acquiring the second-hand goods for electronics? Because at the end of the day, they would become waste. Is it essential that the government put out tighter rules on our borders or customs so that these things don't come in, or we avoid completely second-hand goods? Well,
avoidance of second-hand goods is a tricky area because we also have a lot of substandard brand new equipment on the market. And so the perception of second-hand is good sometimes is justified. Within the context of sustainable development too, reuse is important in the total global economy. What I will propose is, if we have passed a rule that every equipment that comes to the country must pay the advanced eco levy, we must make sure every everybody pays.
You know, what I find challenging about even we paying the eco levy is that people know, as you said, they were willing to bring you, your school, the equipment. But when it came, most of them were spoiled.
Yes.
Why is it that don't we put a rule, something that when you bring this equipment and then they are spoiled, we ban you, something that makes it people a bit on their toes when dumping these things? Because looking at documentaries, going through the e-waste documentaries, you could see that most of these appliances travel from Europe to China, and then from China straight to Africa. And so aren't there supposed to be stricter or tighter rules? That is what I want to.
Well, there are ways of looking at it. And of course, from Europe, some of them come straight to Ghana.
Yes,
actually,
definitely.
I remember in 2012, I went with experts from Netherlands to the harbor, and they found equipment that people have returned to Philips reject stores. And these were secretly and illegally shipped to Ghana. See, the tighter rules for import should be looked at in terms of also what the government intends doing with the recycling facility.
Yeah.
There are some equipment that, in my opinion, don't allow them into the country when they have come to their end of life.
Exactly.
They will cost too much, much more than
Yeah.
they are paying the eco levy for. For example, CRT, you know CRT TV, we call them etikopo.
Yes,
TV
the big
etikopo.
ones.
Yes. Those are very expensive to manage. So such equipments, you don't allow them when they have reached their end of life. No matter how much the person pays, the cost per recycling is not commensurate with how much levy the person is paying. So those ones, you can buy them. But there are some too that have material value that a recycler wants to import. Maybe at individual level, African countries should avoid individual traders from importing these equipments that have come to their end of life.
Yeah.
But if I own a recycling company, I can sign a contract with, let's say, the Bank of England that, okay, when your equipment comes to end of life, bring it to my company. And we use the Basel Convention notification procedure, then the governments must allow. You see, a few years ago, African countries signed a convention called the Bamako Convention.
Bamako Convention.
That convention has very strict provisions for trading in hazardous substances.
Good.
Maybe African countries must begin to relook at the Bamako
Go back
Convention.
and then reread it and then
yeah,
implement
reread it and then see where they can do the implementation and come back. But at the individual levels, yes, I agree with you. We should not allow people importing junk equipment. But if a company wants to import for the purpose of recycling, I think those companies can be allowed using both the Bamako and the Basel procedures for importation.
Yeah, and lastly, before we go, I know during your doctorate thesis, you did something on electronic waste.
Yes.
And so it's something you are passionate about.
Yes.
What do you want to tell those looking at this program on the importance of recycling e-waste? Well,
I want to continue to appeal. I've been doing this advocacy for a very long time. And I think that the responsibilities are shared across the value chain. The original equipment manufacturers and brand owners, in this case I'm referring to Apple, Dell, HP, whoever they are, that they must take greater interest in recycling e-waste in Africa, because the cost is on the citizens and not on the companies that are profiting from these electronic, from the sales of these electronic gadgets. I also want to appeal to AAU again to lead the universities in coming up with innovative programs, innovative solutions to e-waste that are generated within the universities themselves, to serve as an example to the larger society. And African government must be bold, they must be courageous in the passage of legislations.
Yes.
We know that there are oppositions here and there, but they must be courageous. They know what is good for their people.
Yes.
And so African governments must be courageous in passing laws that they think can protect their citizens from the hazardous effects of e-waste. Then all the citizens will follow and support them.
This has been a very educative program on e-waste. Thank you, Dr. Atiemo, for giving us an insight into electronic waste. Viewers, this has been AAU Talks on AATV. and it has been sustainable management of e-waste in higher education. In case you missed it, you can go to our Facebook page, AAU_67, to watch our episode. Thanks for watching.